Oh,
Go.
okay. Hi, my name is Denise Dixon. I work at the Alzheimer's Association. I coordinate our Broward County walk event that will be held on Saturday, December 6th at Nova Southeastern University. So I want to thank you so much for giving me some time in your meeting to share more about the organization, about our walk event, and be able to answer as many questions as I can if you about the organization, the work that we do. I also want to acknowledge our co-chair for our committee, Terry Coburn. So because of her efforts, that's why I'm here today. And thank you, Sheena. Sheena is very involved because they're best friends, so she has to be. But she wants to be as well. But she wants to be as well. And they've been doing a great job. They have a team that's fundraising for the walk. I think they have over like $1,400 already. So congratulations. And the Pompano Beach Rotary has a walk team, so we're going to talk about that. But before we get to the walk, because what we do, the walk is really a great opportunity to raise awareness and to get involved and to learn more about the organization. So I want to take the opportunity to share more about who we are as the Alzheimer's Association, what we do, and make sure that you know that we have resources to help families, because unfortunately this disease is affecting so many, and especially in our Broward County area. So in Broward County, there's over 47,000 people diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Diagnosed.
Right.
So that's not even really touching on the amount of people that are experiencing symptoms right now.
Right.
So I wanted to make sure that you understand who we are and why your support is helpful, but how the Rotary has been just nationally been a great conduit for the organization and to support us. So I have a little presentation on the screen. I will try to go through that as quickly as possible. It has a good amount of information, and if you want this presentation afterwards, I've already emailed it to Sahim so he can share it with everyone if you want to see the slowed down version and get to examine a little bit more. So let's see if technology works. So there's a lot of numbers, and the biggest number for me is the fact that unfortunately the number of people diagnosed in the United States has grown. So last year when I started with the organization, we were saying 6 million. Now this year we're at 7 million. Unfortunately, we're going to see that number increase. So many more people are being diagnosed with the disease, and that means so many more people need help. And there's so much work for us to do as an organization. So that's really the most astonishing number for me, because of the fact that I've seen in the past year how that number has grown. And I've talked to so many people that have been affected by this disease. Our goal at the organization is to end Alzheimer's. That's really our main goal, is to make sure that this disease does not exist anymore. It's not affecting families. We're no longer providing resources or medication. The goal is to eradicate it so that we're not suffering from this disease anymore. So when we talk about Alzheimer's, we're the Alzheimer's Association. We do want to clarify what is Alzheimer's and what is dementia. So the best way for us is with the umbrella method to share. So Alzheimer's is a part of dementia. So dementia is the umbrella, and you have Alzheimer's, vascular, and all the different types of dementias. So for example, frontotemporal dementia, that's, everyone probably knows about it now because of Bruce Willis. That's what he has. And we see how unfortunately he's declined. I think in the past week or two there was a documentary done with his wife, and she's sharing what he's going through. So that's an example of a type of dementia. Alzheimer's is the most well known, and that's why we're the Alzheimer's Association, but no, it's a type of dementia. My grandfather had dementia as well. He didn't have Alzheimer's. He was diagnosed with dementia. And so you see it, you're gonna see all these different variances, but just know Alzheimer's is a part of dementia, or is a part of dementia. So Alzheimer's is basically, we all at this point know it's a brain disease that affects how we think, how we behave, and our memory. our brain is really the central point of how our body moves and behaves. So now, if it's being affected on a regular basis, it means that our messages are not being sent to the rest of our body and how to move. Our memory is being affected, which unfortunately means that we're not remembering the great moments and even the bad moments at times. But then we also eventually lose mobility. We forget how to do the simple things. And unfortunately, that means loved ones are heavily dependent on their families and for homes to take care of them. And so we want to shine a light on it because it does affect the family life, because it affects everyone differently. But imagine you're losing your memory, and then over time you're losing your ability to even, just pick up a cup of coffee. So we want to highlight that because of the fact that most people think they know what Alzheimer's or dementia is, but unfortunately most people don't know. It doesn't mean you forgot your car keys. That doesn't mean you have Alzheimer's. It's a little bit more deeply rooted. It's when you're forgetting like key pieces of your day, or you're just not remembering certain things anymore. But like losing your keys, because I lose my keys every single day, that is not really a sign that you have dementia or Alzheimer's. So unfortunately what we see is that Alzheimer's is hitting a lot of our communities, especially in the South Florida and Broward area. So it has affected Black Americans twice as likely as white Americans. It affects Hispanic more than white Americans, and it affects women. And these are a lot of caretakers in our communities. And so what we're seeing is that if the people that are taking care of our community in general, if they're getting this disease, that means we're losing out on people that have been such an integral part of our communities. And unfortunately, they don't have the resources, or their family doesn't have the time to really take care of them. So we're trying our best to get more into those communities so that people know that, it's not something to ignore. It's not something where, it's just like, oh, that person's crazy. Because I will tell you, I'm Jamaican. When my grandfather had dementia, it was really hard for my family. They did not talk about it. My mom, until this day, do not talk about it. I've been here for over a year now, and it's a really sore subject for her. But we kept it tight-knit. We don't communicate with anyone else. We don't see resources and help. And unfortunately, that means it puts a strife on the family because you feel like you have no resources, no help. When unfortunately, there is help and there is resources. And so because I know what it feels like, because my family went through it, I want to make sure that more people know that there is a resources, there's a way for you to get help, and not to keep it all within you, because unfortunately it affects the caregivers more and more as they take care of their loved ones. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of brings me on to another number that I do want to share, that it says caregivers provided more than 18 billion hours of unpaid care, value at nearly 347 million. So that's something that my family went through, and so many other people's families went through. Because when you're taking care of someone, you're not getting paid for it. For those hours, those are during work hours, before work, after work. It's all day, every day. And even if you feel like, okay, I can go to work and focus, you're not focused because now you're thinking like, are they going to be okay? Are they going to leave the house unsupervised? Or if they do, you're getting a phone call. So it's just constantly wondering how you're going to take care of your loved one as they go through the stages of this disease. So I do want to also share that where we are with the Alzheimer's Association, we're in a phase where we've called it the era of treatment, but it's really bringing more awareness to the disease and letting people understand that early detection is key. With any disease out there, the sooner you know, the more you have a plan and a treatment plan, and you can plan out for what is coming up ahead. So we want to make sure that people are going to their doctors, having discussions, because those are usually the hardest thing. Think about when you go to your annual visit and your doctor asks anything new, any question, most of us are like, no, and we just move on. Mm-hmm. Even though we have questions, right? We want to know certain things, but it's just like we're resistant to it. So having conversations with our doctors, having conversations with our loved ones. Sometimes you may see a loved one that's going through something and you're like, I think this is it. It's having those open conversations. Like I said, my family went through it because we kept it to ourselves. It was very difficult for us to communicate with each other about next steps because we were all in different phases of how do we help my grandfather, which unfortunately meant that he was struggling a lot. And so if as a family unit, we don't understand what's going on, or if we're not addressing certain issues, then it becomes a little bit difficult for that loved one. So we are in an exciting time. We do have treatments for Alzheimer's. We have 2 FDA approved drugs, which is really amazing, so it helps with symptoms. And then we have, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, about over a month ago, a blood test was approved for diagnosis, which is, I think, is key, because I am now realizing as an adult that my grandfather's side of the family has a history of dementia. And unfortunately, my cousin, which is my grandfather's cousin, her mom is going through that right now, and it's been really hard for them to get diagnosed. And I feel like this blood test is going to be key for them to get that diagnosis. So I'm excited about it because I see relief for my cousin, and she can get answers and like figure out what the next step is for her mom. So it's really a great time to be a part of the organization. We are 40 years old, about over 40 years old, so we are still developing awareness, treatments, but we're investing heavily because we realize this disease is affecting families too many times, and we want to make sure that we stop it in its tracks. But it starts with these treatments, being able to be diagnosed. It really does go a far way. So I do want to share that we talk about early detection, speaking with your doctors, but we can actively make sure that we're keeping our brain healthy. These are just everyday things that we hear all the time. We exercise, we make sure we're eating right. It says go to school or stay in school, and I will give a short story about the stay in school piece. So when I was in college, I think it was my freshman year, I had, I think it was like Earth Sciences class, and I had like a group of like 5 seniors in this class, which no one really took Earth Sciences, but they were in this class, and they were so engaged. They put all the young people to shame. Like we're like 18, 19 years old, and they were so engaged, and we were just like, why are they going to school at this age? Like, what is going on? Like, we are just trying to get through this class, and they're so actively engaged. And we found out, so at the time I went to FIU, and FIU has a program for seniors that they can go to, I think it was, they can go to school for free, and it was just a way to like engage their brain and keep them active. And so when I see that, I always think back to that moment where I was a little mad at the time because they were just like putting all the young people to shame, but they were doing the right thing. They were keeping their brain activated, right? And they were learning something new. And it was another way to get engaged and be social because they were meeting young people, but other people their age. And so when it says stay in school, it doesn't mean that you have to go to school full time, but it's just engaging your brain, learning something new. It helps with like, socializing as well. So it's basically all the things listed here are the things that we do on a regular basis. We're told on a regular basis to do it, but it just actively reminds us that we have to take care of ourselves. We have to make sure that we're eating right, we're working out, we're engaging our brain, we're socializing, we're just making sure that we're consistent with that throughout the years, because what happens unfortunately is like when you retire, that falls because the amount of engagement is not there. So if you go to work every day, that engagement is down. So it's actively seeking that engagement and making sure that you're still connecting and keeping your brain working. So, how we make a difference in our community with the Alzheimer's. So I told you about, the disease. So who we are is how we help people. So we have a 24/7 hotline. It's open 365, Christmas, New Year's Day, whatever holiday it may be, they're going to be open. They speak multiple languages, and so if it's 2 a.m. and that family member is spiraling about all the different ways of to help their loved one, they can call that number. So that is really helpful because again, when you have these thoughts, it could be at any time of the day, and it's good to know that there's a number you can call, get resources, figure out what's the next step, how do I plan for what's going on with my loved one, but to know that there's a resource. We also have free education and support on our website. In this day of technology, people are always reading information, but our website is so full of different types of information. We even have support groups. Terry helps lead some of these support groups. That's something I wish my family had, because as a caregiver, you take on so much that it would be good to be around people that know what you're going through and can help you, because everyone's in a different stage and they may say, hey, did you check this out? Did you know about this? And so that's where the community goes, that's where the support comes in handy, and it's helpful for these families to navigate through this disease. Okay. So then we have the walk. So as I shared, the Rotary has already registered. Thank you, Sahim, for registering the team for the walk. So the walk is really a great opportunity to bring awareness about the disease. Usually when families hear a diagnosis, they want to do something right now. And the walk is usually one of the first steps or first introduction to the Alzheimer's Association. And through the walk, we have done tremendous things. So for example, our walks are throughout the country. We have over 600 walks. They raised, in the past 2 years, almost $200 million. That money, some of that is being used to research. So I remember one of the key things I remembered was last year when I started, the walks raised $100 million, and we invested $100 million into research. And I thought that was amazing, because everyone thinks their dollars and their pennies, they don't make a difference, but when we come together, this is what's pushing through. This is how we're getting treatments. This is how we're advocating for our loved ones with the disease and making sure we have the support and services for them. So every dollar does go a long way through the walk. It's a fundraising event, and I know a lot of times people are not fans of fundraisers, but for me, when I look at it as if we raised $100 million last year and we invest $100 million into research, that tells me that our dollars are working and that every single person that's engaged with the walk is making a difference. So for me, the walk is really a great opportunity to learn more about the organization, but then we also have an amazing relationship with the Rotary on a national basis. So one of the perks of being involved with the walk is that you get to have your own tent at the walk because of this national relationship, which usually you have to fundraise $5,000 to have a tent at the walk. And you guys don't have to do that because of this national relationship. We encourage you to do it, but because of this relationship and because the Rotary has been such a big supporter of the organization and has raised money throughout the years through the walk for the organization, we've developed this really great relationship. And I'm sure if you talk to any other Rotaries across the country that are involved with the walk, they'll share that they had a really great experience and it's been very meaningful for them. So I shared our flyer that has a QR code to your team. So if you scan that QR code with your phone, it takes you directly to the team page. You can join the team or you can donate. If you join or donate today, I have a wonderful Alzheimer's Association bag for you. So I have a couple of them. So if you donate or join, just show me and I'll give you a bag. But just to show how much we appreciate your support, and these bags are actually not that easy to get this year because we've been holding on to them. So I am breaking the rules by having them here today. So it's a great event. It's in December, Saturday, December 6th. It's going to be nice and cool, not like now, rainy and disgusting. It's going to be an amazing weather, and we've been working really hard to make sure you have a great experience on December 6th. It's going to be at Nova Southeastern University, so we encourage everyone to sign up, support, and have the Pompano Beach team at the walk. So thank you so much, Sahim, for registering for the walk, and I look forward to seeing more team members a part of your team. So basically, this is the end of my presentation. I cannot say enough how appreciative I am of your time, but also the support that you're giving to the organization. It really means a lot. Even if you get one thing out of this meeting today, please share that one thing with a family or friend, because that one thing will lead to support and resources and help for someone. That's the goal for us. We want people to know that there's a community here for them, and that they're not alone. There's support, and we're gonna try to get through this together. So I truly appreciate your time today. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Yeah. How does Alzheimer's, do they know how it starts? And do they know what causes it? Do they have any ideas?
There's so many different reasons. I've seen it where it could be genetics. It could, because there's been multiple people in a family that has Alzheimer's. It could be just one person in a family. It could be environment. It could be if you, let's say, like for example, Bruce Willis. They're saying that he did a lot of his stunts, so he had a lot of hits to his head.
That's
right?
what I was just going to bring up.
Right. So there's unfortunately so many different factors because everyone is different, and it affects differently. Like my grandfather worked at I don't know, like, because he's from Jamaica, so it was like a bauxite place. I don't. Yeah. So that was like a
Mining.
It was like a rough environment. So it could be that could be a part of the reason why he got it. But then now I'm seeing that as like when you're a child, you don't know a lot. As an adult, I started to piece it together. So my grandfather had dementia. I'm starting to see that his sister, she had it, but we all thought she was just like eccentric and a little crazy. And then now, unfortunately, I see my cousin struggling with her mom, and that's all on my grandfather's side. So there's so many different factors to it, and that's something that they're trying to figure out, because in order to cure something, you have to figure out how it started.
And before, people would say, "Oh, it's just old age." You know, that's what happens when you have old age. You forget things, you can't remember things, you lose your memory in certain situations, okay? And
But there's people in their 50s getting diagnosed
40s.
40s with Alzheimer's.
So it's not a part
So
of
they're also studying the diet, just your plain diet, and control of diabetes, control of blood pressure, those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So it's a lot of factors, you know.
A lot of factors.
It's a lot of factors, yeah.
Well, my question was, what you pretty much dwelled into it was, you dove into it was, I think you're going to see a lot more of traumatic brain injury because of all the athletes that have got concussions. I've had 3 or 4 or 5 concussions playing football, so I know all about it. So, you know, and that's just on a smaller level. That's from small leagues to college, into college. So you're going to see a lot of these athletes. In fact, I forgot who it was just recently, but they did an autopsy, and he was a young man. You know, if you all remember Junior Seau.
Yeah.
He had traumatic brain injury, which is a form of Alzheimer's.
And the thing is, the brain is so complicated. We don't know everything. Like, I don't remember the percentage. I last heard of what we know about the brain. So that's the other part of it too. Is like we don't know everything about the brain. So as we start learning more and finding out how it ticks, it will help lead to figuring out a lot of these diseases. But yeah, there's so much that we don't know, and there's so many different things you could get. You know, you could be a boxer and like a football
Well, definitely Muhammad Ali definitely suffered. So did Joe Frazier. A lot of these fighters that fought back in the 70s and the 60s. There was what they come to find out, there was a football player for the Pittsburgh Steelers back years ago, a guy named Mike Webster.
Okay.
He was a heck of a player. He ended up dying homeless in his van because no one could understand what was going on. And on a local level for us as being Dolphin fans, you remember a guy named Bob Kuchenberg? Traumatic brain injury. Yeah, he could. I knew a guy that knew him, and he used to go to Flanagan's in Davie, and he would have lunch and have a few beers, but he would have to write down stuff because he would forget it minutes later.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
So I have 2 clients. I have one of the University of Miami, a football player, who's in his late 60s, and he's full-time care, and the University of Miami is paying for his care. And his wife is his caregiver also. And then I have another client that played for the Dolphins and played for, I think he played for the Buffalo Bills before he played for the Dolphins, but he's retired down here, and the NFL pays for his care because of all the concussions.
The boxers used to call it punch drunk.
It's very, I think because of where we are with technology, we're starting to find out more information quicker. So I think we're going to see more information come out in the next 5 to 10 years, especially because I think the greatest thing about technology right now, I know everyone's a little bit everywhere with technology, but one of the greatest things about technology in any disease space is that you are connected to research quicker. Because let's say I'm in Finland working on one project, right? And then you're in America working on the same type of project, but because we're in 2 different countries, we never talked. So now technology, we're now connected and we can work together and find solutions faster. So that's one of the key things about technology right now is that it's connecting people. So now I'm able to find out, like, wait a minute, we're working on the same thing. We should work together, right? And we could probably find a solution faster compared to, for 10 years you've been doing this one thing. For 10 years I've been doing the same thing.
Yes. How much duplication and man hours did it take?
Right.
Both of you reach the same conclusion.
Right.
And by technology, it helps.
Right,
Sure.
and we could have probably covered that in half the time and
Right.
move on to
Sure.
the next phase, you know? So
My mom has dementia, okay? She has Alzheimer's. And she's recently got a medication. It's helped her, okay? But her biggest problem was things would come into her mind and she'd think about stuff, okay, that didn't happen. But it was so realistic to her that she thought it happened, okay? She thought all the women in the condo were trying to get my father, okay? To have sex with him.
Oh, okay.
Cut.
That's an everyday problem.
But it wasn't happening. Okay?
I just woke up.
It wasn't going on. So, you know,
were not
that
speaking to my
was,
presentation.
you know, that was a big problem. She can remember things in the past more than she can remember things in the present. Okay? She asked the same question 2 or 3 times because the question keeps coming up, but she forgets she gets the answer, or she had gotten the answer so many times.
How's your mom?
Okay? My mom is 90. Okay?
Well,
Okay?
I'm
So,
57.
you know, that's,
Yeah.
but it's all of a sudden.
I mean, every memory is different for everyone. If you think about it, as we age, like there's some core childhood memories that we will hold on to forever. Like there are memories that I remember clear as day, and I think it's this way. And then you talk to my sister, and she's like, "That's not what happened at all, right?" But it's because it's your memory. It affected you in such a visceral way, whether it's good or bad. So some memories will always stay with you because of the emotion attached to it and what happened during that time.
And because she can remember past memories so well, she comes up with the stories that affected her life and how her family lived, okay, during the war and after the war, okay, and comes up with stuff that she never ever told us. She never ever said anything to us about it, okay? For a number of years, they lived in a boxcar that was pulled by a train because they didn't have any place to live. And all the places that were theirs had been taken over by other people during the war, okay? And when they came back to the town that they lived in, the people said, "You're supposed to be dead, okay? You're not supposed to be here, okay?" And so they had to escape from East Germany to West Germany. And then once they escaped to West Germany, they had to find a job and an apartment and everything, and all that stuff took time. And she told me a story where there were a lot of people like her, in that situation. And those people were lucky enough to be in a boxcar, to be out of the weather, so to speak. You know, you're not out of the weather, but you're out of the weather. And they would die, and they would go out to where the dead people were and get clothes from their bodies to keep themselves warm, okay, and to be able to survive.
Wow.
And that's memories that's coming out of left field that I never ever heard about, okay, until now. You know, why didn't you ever tell us about this sooner? But she didn't, because she can remember the past so much vivider than she can remember the present.
I think that happens a lot with Alzheimer's patients, because my uncle's wife's mother, she could go she was from Cleveland, Ohio, and she could remember every sports team, player. She's dead now, she went on. But my aunt, her daughter, had cancer, and when she died before the mother died, but because of the Alzheimer's, they couldn't say nothing to her, because every day she'd forget. She would forget, you know, so it was like bringing up, you know, the family decided that we're not going to tell her that you know, the siblings decided, and my uncle decided they were not going to tell her, because it would just hash up every day. It would be, every day would wake up to a tragedy for her.
It's like the 50 Dates movie.
Yes,
right?
every day would be a
Stick
tragedy.
the tape into the VCR and play it so she knows what's going on, so she's got memories of the past.
So unfortunately, you know, it's kind of sad that we all have these stories of how it's affected our loved ones.
I have a question.
Okay.
Our medical profession in the world today is changing tremendously in our country, especially with some idiots we have. Alzheimer's, will they get some federal funds? Will they get some federal help? Or is it because the stupidity of our government right now, they're taking away polio that we have eradicated?
Right.
I have personal effect with polio and things. They're taking it away because they're not listening to anybody. Is the Alzheimer's Association doing something as a group towards the government? Or are we just standing back and saying, oh, he's the king, he knows what he's doing?
Well, so just want to put this out there. As an organization, we're neutral when it comes to politics. We try to work with every government, because at the end of the day, we're advocating for people with the disease. It changes every 4 years or not, but our goal is to advocate for you know, those who are dealing with Alzheimer's and families. Also, I'm not a medical professional, so I don't want it to be out as like the truth of this is how it is. But we do get funding. It differs from time to time. This is why we have the walk event, because that really does help us invest our money into research, providing programs and services. So when it comes to funding from the government, it's an ebb and flow. It changes and it depends, right? Unfortunately, Alzheimer's is now like a very prevalent disease, and so we're hoping that that prevalence is really shaking up every form of government. So from local to you know, to federal, that we do need more funding to really find out what causes Alzheimer's and dementia, and then how can we cure it, and how can they invest dollars into it. So it will always go up and down when it comes to funding, but this is why we have the walk. This is why we have all these different opportunities to raise money to support, because when it goes up, that's great, but when it goes down, the need is still there.
But in dealing with the local, state, county, cities, are they aware of what's going on? Or are they just kind of like, I just got involved with one up in Port St. Lucie, and oh, we don't have time for that. I can't stand politicians.
Well, that's what I was just going to tell you. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you look at, because it takes individuals like this right here to bring something to fruition and make people aware that you're not aware. If do you know where all your tax dollars go? Whether it be what regime's in there, you have no idea.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
Yeah.
And the problem is free giving. You know, that's when you have individuals like this lovely young lady here that bring awareness, now John Deal can participate. You can take your hard-earned money and put money towards it.
Right.
Yeah.
Juan Gonzalez, Harry Schwartz, Bobby Repaz, sounds right. Everybody here can put into it. So this is, to me,
Yeah.
that
Very well said. We also do have an
Grassroots.
advocacy focus with the organization. So we have someone that is dedicated to making sure local, state, federal knows about us and puts us first. For example, Terry went with earlier this year to Tallahassee and met with local politicians here, advocated for us. So we are always making sure that we are in the forefront of everyone's mind. So, but he's correct in the fact that every single person here can make a difference, right? So that's why I said if you get one information today, share that information. This is how it continues to flow. Like if we keep
Amen.
sharing, then that makes a difference. If we keep it to ourselves, like unfortunately my family kept it to themselves, nothing happened and it felt like you're just in it by yourself.
On this website, it seems to say that you've got information. Can we go in more in depth?
Yeah, so that goes to the team page, but then at the menu you can click and get more information about Alzheimer's. You can learn about advocacy, you can learn about our support groups, any information you need. I'll also give you my card, so if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out anytime.
And just before we wrap up, I got one more thing. Last week I talked to you about
Yes.
Ken Shelley's
yep.
daughter. She's going to be. I thought it was Pompano High, but it's through the Pompano Dance Studio.
Right.
That Pompano is going to be represented in the Macy's Day Parade. Here's some flyers.
Okay.
If you want one, do you want to pass around? I don't have.